Not a sermon, just a thought. You know, there's this guy that buys radio time in the Washington market on a lot of stations, and he does these you know, what I call little mini sermons. This is Lon Solomon. He's in Falls Church, Virginia. I believe he runs one of those big churches. You know, one of those big churches. There's a, you know, like they have to get the cops out and direct traffic because there's so much traffic to this church on Sundays. And if you want to go to Tyson's Corner, which is one of the big you know, areas around in the Virginia suburbs there, if you want to even drive around that, I've done it a couple times where I want to go hiking and I'll be driving down Route 7 past this big church, and it is it is totally jammed up, and it takes you like a half an hour just to go 2 blocks. Anyway, Lon Solomon is this guy, and yeah, he does this thing called Not a Sermon, Just a Thought. And here they are. So you can listen to them here. Anyway, he talks about current affairs and what's going on and all that other stuff. And you know, and there is a religious component to it, you know, and he's trying to, I think, get through to people that are just, you know, hey, you know, you go to church. You know, when my parents raised me as a Presbyterian. You know, my sister and I, you know, we went to church every Sunday when we were kids, and we went to Sunday school, and we got confirmed, and we became Presbyterians, and the whole thing. And then when we turned 18, they just said, look, we know we believe in this religion. We're Presbyterians too, and we thought we'd give it to you, and now you take it and do with it as you please. And, you know, my mom and dad, as they got older, they kind of stopped going to church. I think they just thought there was too much politics in it, in the sermons and stuff. I don't know how many times my dad would come home from church, you know, when we were kids, and he'd be mad. He'd just be angry because, you know, oh, the minister had to talk all about politics, and, you know, it would make him mad. It would make him angry. I didn't want to go to church for the politics. I just wanted to go to church for the, you know, to feel better, you know, and he would come home feeling angry and stuff. And I don't know, you know, and so he just kind of drifted away. And today I think, you know, there are lots of churches out there, right? He could have found one that suited his tastes, you know. I mean, really, you know, you can kind of go to a church where, you know, you try this one out. Nah, it's like shoes. This one doesn't quite fit. That one doesn't quite fit. This one doesn't, you know, then finally you find one that fits, and, you know, whatever, you know, in a way that's, I don't want to get into a religious sermon here, but, you know, whatever we see as that higher spirit, call him God or it God or her God, whatever, God, you know, it's, we see God in many different ways, you know. Some see God as you know, big hairy bearded guy up there in the sky, and other people see God in a very different way as a kind of a invisible spirit, and, you know, or he or she or it or whatever that spirit is could be a lot of different things. What I'm coming back to full circle here and trying to be, I'm not being as succinct as Mr. Lon Solomon, and, you know, doing his 30-second or 60-second just a sermon, just not a sermon, just a thought, is getting back to Living Free Mike here. Now, you know, he, a week ago, this was last weekend, posted this. This was a week ago today that he posted this, and I will open it up here so you can see the whole thing. So anyway, and then he hasn't posted anything since. Nothing since. You know, he's had a very stressful, I'd say a very stressful year. You know, it capped off with the passing away of his wonderful dog Sober, which was his companion for many, many years. And, you know, it's really sad. And Mike, you know, we've looked at Living Free Mike, and, you know, he hasn't, you know, he's been kind of a changed person over the last year, in the sense that he just isn't traveling as much. He spent the whole summer there in Minnesota with his family, and parked in Paul's backyard. That's one of his friends. Didn't do a lot of traveling, and then he traveled from there to Quartzsite, southwestern Arizona there, back in, October, and he's so far been there ever since, going on 5 or 6 months. And, you know, I don't know. Is it a midlife crisis? Is he thinking of getting off the road? Does he want to continue getting off the road but doesn't have enough money? Is his, you know, the whole thing with sober, you know, sober's not been in good health for quite a while, and, you know, that's affected him. I don't know. And, you know, maybe he is turning more now to a more spiritual, religious side, and that's what that posting on his community tab there on his YouTube channel showed us. Anyway, so I decided to just go through and read all the comments. There are a lot of comments on there. Some of them are, you know, very supportive, and some are kind of snarky and stuff like that. And people are talking about how they see religion and all that other stuff. And then I read this one here, and I wanted to share it with you. It's the Almost Happy Camper. That is Jimmy, right? Jimmy, not James, Jimmy. That's Jimmy, the Almost Happy Camper. He's the guy who organized the Boondockers Bash there at Quartzsite back in December, and where Mike was there. Mike was there at the Boondockers Bash. And Almost Happy Camper says, I totally agree, but not completely with you saying that God helps those who help themselves. Some blessings come with no effort at all, but many others require us to try, and when we are good at particular things, that's because God gave us the gift. So when we use it, oftentimes he will bless us. So, oh yeah, all the glory to God, but we do have to give ourselves some credit for our successes as well as to credit the Lord. I guess I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Okay, now Jimmy likes to write on. That's one big long sentence there. Okay, it's a very long, big long sentence with no periods or commas or anything. But anyway, that's a good point. You know, God may help you to help yourself. You know, God makes it possible so that you can help yourself, and that in that way God's helping you. Just not a sermon. Just a thought. Now, I don't know if you saw Nomadland. We're gonna stop talking about Nomadland. Although, if I did check the Oscars, the Oscar predictions, and yes, Nomadland is one of the major pictures up there for an Oscar this year. Whenever they get around to doing those, they got the Golden Globes. Then they're going to have the Oscar nominations, and then or whatever. Then they reveal the Oscars, and I think it's sometime this spring the Oscars are going to be held. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it this year with the pandemic. Is there a chance that Living Free will be there? I don't know. I doubt it. Is there a chance that Cheap RV Living Bob will be there? I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it certainly could be. It's not out of the question that Nomadland could be the best picture of the year. And if you've seen the movie, there is definitely a spiritual quality to it. Okay, you know, there really is. It's not a car chase movie. It's not a laugh a minute movie. But there is a definite spirituality in that movie. Now, I don't think they say the word God at all in the movie. But if you watch the movie, you know, there's some, I think, at least, you know, there is definitely a spiritual component to that movie about, you know, what it means to be, you know, leaving all that you know as a human being, as a solo camper, and going out and trying to find the meaning of life away from, you know, your friends and family and your job has gone away, whatever. And it's kind of a trek. It's a journey that Fern, the main character, Frances McDormand, takes in the movie. And, you know, and you could say that in a lot of cases, a lot of these nomads, their journey, it's not just a journey to travel, say, from Arizona to Utah and go to Glacier Park and Yellowstone and, you know, down to Florida and up to Maine and Arcadia. It's more than that. It's a journey up here. It's a journey to find meaning and maybe a journey to find God, whatever you think God is. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just a sermon. No, it's not a sermon. It's a sermon. It's a cookbook. Anyway, I don't know, man. Living free. God is good, God first, God is love. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know where Mike is right now, but we'll keep you updated here on the camodave channel. But anyway, I don't know. It's interesting, you know. One of the reasons I've been covering the Nomads now for 5 years, that there's a lot of different levels to this. You know, it's not just camping, it's not just dumping your tanks, it's not just putting up solar panels, it's not just stuff like that. You know, getting park permits and, you know, cops knocking on your door and telling you to move, and there's more to it. It's you know, and I think was that Nomadland was kind of a kick in the butt to a lot of us who watched the Nomads, and maybe even to some Nomads themselves. There's a lot more to life than we think, and you know, some of these Nomads are on a really interesting trip, a very interesting journey of exploration in many more ways than we could possibly imagine. Not a sermon, just a thought.